We're waiting to see how, if at all, President Trump addresses the leadership at the Defense Department. In a moment, Democratic Senator Jack Reed calls for a wider investigation of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. First, we report on what the White House is doing.
One U.S. official tells NPR that the search is underway to replace Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Publicly, the president is standing behind him after a tumultuous week. Hegseth's office fired some of his aides. Then came revelations that the secretary shared details of impending airstrikes in Yemen again. NPR confirmed this second chat on the messaging app Signal, which included Hegseth's wife, his brother, and his personal lawyer. The first chat was with top officials and a journalist who was inadvertently included.
NPR's Quill Lawrence is here to tell us more. Quill, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
So we'll note that you're reporting this story with our colleague Tom Bowman. What are you guys hearing?
Yeah, a U.S. official told us that the search has begun after this second round of headlines about Hegseth. I should add that the White House has said our anonymous source doesn't know what they're talking about. But at a Rose Garden event yesterday, the president stood firmly by Hegseth, at least publicly.
No, he's doing a great job. It's just fake news. They just bring up stories. I guess it sounds like disgruntled employees. You know, he was put there to get rid of a lot of bad people, and that's what he's doing.
Quill, that phrase, disgruntled employees. I think Hegseth used a similar phrase in his public remarks about this and referred to people who were fired in his office. What's he talking about?
Yeah, there were 4 senior advisors to Hegseth who left in just the past week. Former Defense Department spokesman John Elliott resigned last week and then published a quite extraordinary opinion piece calling the past month at the Pentagon a, quote, full-blown meltdown, and saying that this infighting is hurting President Trump. He served in Trump's first administration. It appears to want to continue to serve. 3 other Pentagon advisors, Colin Carroll, Dan Caldwell, and Darren Selnick, were escorted out of the Pentagon and accused of leaking information to the press. They then put out, as a trio, the 3 of them put out a joint statement on X saying that their dismissal was unconscionable and that they haven't even been told what they stand accused of leaking. All 3 of them served in uniform. They say they understand the importance of information security. Caldwell and Selnick, notably, are longtime associates of Hegseth. They've worked with him over a decade, back to when he was at Concerned Veterans for America, a policy group.
So I'm trying to figure out what all of this adds up to. The White House does appear to be backing Hegseth, but he's been revealed, NPR has confirmed the original New York Times report, that there was a second chat group on Signal where he was sharing information about an impending attack.
Yeah, I mean, with the first chat group, it was against Pentagon policy to use Signal for that. There were a lot of security issues with it, discussing details of an attack hours before the bombs hit in Yemen. But the people in that chat were the vice president, the secretary of state, people who would need to know. This second group, it appears that Hegseth was just cut and pasting this actionable intelligence about U.S. strikes to his wife. I can't think of any conceivable need they would have to know this information. And military sources, veterans I talked to, are just outraged about this. They say that it really did put U.S. lives at risk and American security at risk. And they're concerned that this example being set, the military really drills into troops that they have to take responsibility for their actions, own up. And so far, Hegseth has not done that yet for either of these Signal chats.
Yeah, and I guess we should emphasize Hegseth's side has insisted no classified information was shared, leaning on how they define classified information, but it was information about an impending attack, which is always considered sensitive. Quill, thanks so much.
Thank you, Steve.